In Buddhism, compassion and wisdom are not two independent virtues. They are inseparable complements, like the two sides of a single coin. Just as we cannot say a coin has only a heads or only a tails, compassion and wisdom cannot exist meaningfully apart from one another. They function together, side by side, forming the path to liberation that the Buddha taught. If one is missing, practice becomes unbalanced and cannot truly lead to the end of suffering. The story shared on the channel today does not come directly from the scriptures. However, it is often told by Theravada monks as an illustrative example because it remains both skillful in application and faithful in principle. Skillful in application means it is accessible and suitable for people of different capacities. Almost anyone can understand it, regardless of their level of Buddhist study. Faithful in principle means it still preserves the essential teachings of the Buddha. Through this story, the Buddha teaches the snake a profound lesson. Compassion must always be guided by wisdom. Long ago, in a forest at the edge of a village, there lived a snake known for its fierce and dangerous nature. It lived in constant fear, and because of that fear, it would bite anyone who came near. The villagers were terrified of it. Whenever they saw the snake, they would immediately grab sticks and stones and chase it away mercilessly. Its body was covered in wounds, scales torn away, patches of dried blood clung to its skin. It lived a life trapped between fearing humans and being hunted by them. One day, the Buddha passed through that forest. As he approached, the snake instinctively prepared to strike, but when it looked into his eyes, it suddenly froze. There was no fear in that gaze, no hostility, only deep understanding and boundless compassion. The Buddha gently asked, "Why do you bite people?" The snake replied weakly, "Su, because I am afraid of them. If I do not bite, they will kill me." The Buddha said, "It is precisely because you bite them that they fear you more and wish to harm you. Hatred is never ended by hatred. Only compassion can end hatred." The snake fell silent. No one had ever spoken to it like that before. The Buddha continued, "Practice living with a heart of loving kindness. Do not bite anyone anymore." Those words were like cool water falling upon a long-parched heart. For the first time in its life, the snake did not feel as though it had to fight against the entire world. It lowered its head and accepted the teaching. From that day on, it never bit anyone again. Time passed. The villagers began to notice that the snake no longer attacked. At first, they were cautious, but gradually, caution turned into contempt. Children started throwing stones at it. Adults poked its body with sticks for amusement. Some even picked it up like a rope and tossed it back and forth while laughing. The snake did not resist. It believed that enduring everything was the correct way to practice compassion. Once again, its body became bruised and battered. But this time, not because it was violent, rather because it had become gentle. Sometime later, the Buddha returned to the forest. He saw the snake curled beneath a tree, its body covered with both old and new wounds layered upon each other. Its breath was faint, its life force nearly extinguished. The Buddha asked, "What has happened to you?" The snake replied in a trembling voice, "A blessed one, I have done exactly as you taught. I no longer bite anyone, but they treat me like an object. They beat me, throw me, and step on me." It paused, then asked softly, "Have I misunderstood your teaching?" The Buddha looked at it for a long moment, then said, "I taught you compassion, but I did not teach you to abandon wisdom." The snake fell silent. The Buddha continued, "Compassion does not mean allowing others to destroy you. Not biting is correct, but you can still raise your hood. You can still hiss. you can still let them know that you are not something to be trampled upon. He looked deeply into its eyes and said, "Compassion prevents you from harming others. Wisdom prevents others from harming you." In that moment, the snake awakened to a profound realization. For all this time, it had understood only half of the path. From that day forward, the snake never bit anyone again, but whenever someone approached with the intention to harm it, the snake would raise its head and hiss loudly, sending a clear warning, not to injure, but to establish a boundary. Seeing this, the villagers no longer dared to treat it with contempt. They kept their distance and stopped beating or tormenting it. The snake lived the rest of its life in peace. It was no longer the snake of fear, nor the snake of silent submission. It had become the snake of compassion and wisdom. For compassion without wisdom easily turns into weakness. But wisdom guided by compassion becomes the path that frees one from both harming others and being harmed. This story is not merely about a snake. It is about human beings. Many of us learn to bite in order to protect ourselves. Some use sharp words. Some build walls of coldness. Others choose to strike first, simply so they will not become the one who is hurt. Not because they are bad people, but because they are afraid. Afraid of being disrespected. Afraid of being harmed. Afraid of being abandoned. There are also many who choose the opposite path. Silent endurance. They speak less. They tolerate more. Yet the world does not always recognize kindness and goodwill. When people see that you do not resist, they may mistake it for weakness. When you remain silent, they may assume you have no worth. When you endure, they may push further, believing you deserve such treatment. And so many begin to question the very path they chose. They ask themselves, is it wrong to live with kindness? Does compassion make me weak? To survive in today's world, must I become a harsher person? This is exactly where wisdom becomes necessary. The Buddha did not tell the snake to go back to biting people. Harming others can never lead to peace. But neither did he teach the snake to quietly accept destruction. Enduring harm in ignorance is not compassion, it is the loss of oneself. Instead, he showed the snake a middle way. This is the middle path in Buddhism, a choice that does not fall into either extreme. Do not harm others, but do not allow harm to continue unchecked. Do not attack, but do not abandon your boundaries. Do not live in fear, but do not live in helpless submission. This is the difference between compassion and weakness. Weakness is when you remain silent out of fear. Compassion is when you choose not to harm, even though you have the power to do so. Weakness is when you lose yourself just to be accepted. Compassion is when you keep your heart steady without nurturing hatred. Wisdom helps you see clearly that you do not need to become aggressive in order to be respected, but you also do not need to become weak in order to prove that you are a good person. A truly mature person no longer lives at either extreme. They are not someone who always attacks, nor someone who always endures. They know when to be gentle and when to stand firm. They harm no one, but they also allow no one to harm them. This is compassion guided by wisdom. And when compassion and wisdom walk together, a person is no longer controlled by fear, nor by past wounds. They live with an inner steadiness. Steadiness that does not come from making others afraid, but from knowing that nothing can cause them to lose themselves. That is true freedom. From this story, one may remember a simple and concise reminder useful for reflecting on oneself or sharing with others. The Buddha taught the snake, no matter how devoted your practice, you must still know how to hiss. Otherwise, the world may mistake you for a rope and climb all over you. Compassion and wisdom must walk together. Story 2. The Simile of the Saw Middle-Length Discourses. Discourse 21. The second story comes from the Simile of the Saw Sutta, the 21st discourse in the middle-length discourses. Although the discourse is famous for the powerful image of the saw, today we will not focus on that example just yet. The simile of the saw is so well known that many people clearly remember that striking image, but often forget what situation led the Buddha to present such a strong teaching in the first place. In today's discussion, we will focus only on compassion and wisdom. The jigsaw in the sutta illustrates the ultimate limit of loving kindness and non-hatred. I will share that part of the teaching in another talk. This story took place while the Buddha was residing in Savath in Jeta's Grove, where the monastic community lived and practiced. At that time, there was a monk named Moliyaphagguna. Venerable Moliyaphagguna was learned and diligent in practice, but he had a weakness that he himself did not fully recognize. He often visited the residence of the Buddhist nuns. At first, it was simply to greet them, discuss the Dhamma, and offer help when needed. But over time, he became increasingly close to them. Whenever someone criticized or corrected one of the Buddhist nuns, Venerable Moliyaphagguna would immediately step in to defend them. He did not first examine whether the matter was right or wrong. As soon as he heard someone speak unfavorably about the Buddhist nuns, he felt uneasy. He objected, he argued, he protected them. Likewise, if any monk said something that displeased the Buddhist nuns, he would also show disapproval toward that monk. Gradually, the other monks began to notice that Venerable Moliyaphagguna was no longer maintaining balance. He was no longer seeing matters with objectivity, but through personal attachment. They reported this to the Buddha. The Buddha then called Moliyaphagguna and calmly asked, "Moliyaphagguna, is it true that when monks say something displeasing to the nuns, you become upset and defend the Buddhist nuns?" The venerable monk did not deny it. He answered honestly, "Ah yes, blessed one." The Buddha asked further, "And when Buddhist nuns say something displeasing to the monks, you still defend the nuns? Is that correct?" Again he replied, "Ah yes, blessed one." At that point the Buddha spoke in a firm yet compassionate tone. "Moliyaphagguna, this is not appropriate. A practitioner must see what is right as right, and what is wrong as wrong. One should not allow the mind to be carried away by familiarity or personal affection. When the mind is still bound by liking and partiality, it is not yet liberated." The Buddha then taught something even deeper. He explained that a practitioner must carefully observe their own emotions. When the eye sees or the ear hears, the mind naturally gives rise to liking or disliking. But if one is not mindful, these feelings begin to guide one's actions, and clarity is gradually lost. BS does not begin with outward behavior. It begins with a very subtle attachment in the mind. If it is not recognized, it grows. Eventually, a person no longer stands on the side of truth, but on the side of their own feelings. After hearing the Buddha's teaching, Venerable Moliyaphagguna understood his mistake. He realized that what he thought was protecting others was in fact attachment, and that attachment had taken away the freedom of his mind. From that time onward, he practiced maintaining balance. He no longer allowed liking and disliking to guide him. He no longer allowed personal feelings to obscure the truth. The Buddha then used this situation to teach the monks a powerful principle. Even when someone insults us, harms us, or treats us unfairly, a practitioner must train the mind so that it is not controlled by anger or bias. Only when the mind is no longer pulled by love and hatred can a person experience true freedom. The story of Venerable Moliyaphagguna reveals a very subtle truth. Not every action that comes from emotional attachment is compassion, and not every act of defending someone is truly right. The venerable monk believed he was doing something good, protecting those for whom he felt sympathy. Yet because of that attachment, he lost his inner balance. He no longer saw events through the lens of truth, but through personal preference. And when wisdom is no longer guiding the heart, compassion easily turns into favoritism. The Buddha taught that genuine compassion does not mean standing on the side of a person. It means standing on the side of truth. If someone is mistaken, helping them recognize their mistake is compassion. Simply defending them so that they feel comfortable is not helping them, it is keeping them in ignorance. In this case, wisdom is the ability to remain clear in the presence of emotion. It is seeing right and wrong without being pulled by love or hate. It is understanding that kindness does not mean agreeing with everything, and silence is not always compassion. More deeply still, the story teaches that compassion and wisdom also involve knowing boundaries. One must not allow personal affection to undermine fairness, nor allow attachment to pull one away from truth. A person who embodies both compassion and wisdom does not act merely to please others. They act so as not to betray the truth and not to betray their own heart. When compassion is guided by wisdom, a person does not become cold. Instead, they become steady. We can still care. We can still love. But we are no longer bound by attachment. We can help others without losing clarity. And this inner balance becomes the foundation of genuine inner freedom. From the two stories above, we can see that the mind often loses its balance and becomes biased. It tends to drift away from the middle way, leaning toward extremes because it fails to see reality as it truly is. To counter this tendency, the Buddha offered a profound teaching. In the Majjhima Nikaya, or numerical discourses of the Buddha, in the chapter of fours, he spoke about 4 causes that can lead a person away from the truth. When influenced by these causes, one's judgment becomes distorted, partiality arises, and one's integrity and virtue gradually decline. These are known as the 4 paths that should not be followed. First is bias due to affection or desire. Out of love, personal attachment, or emotional closeness, we may make distorted judgments. It appears as excusing the faults of those close to us, or favoring people we like even when they are in the wrong. Second is bias due to hatred or anger. Out of resentment, prejudice, or aversion towards someone, we may deny their good qualities or judge them overly harshly. A common sign is that once we dislike someone, even when they do something right, we still see it as wrong. Third is bias due to delusion or ignorance. Because of a lack of understanding, wisdom, or clear knowledge of the facts, we form mistaken conclusions. This appears as making judgments based on rumors, without verification, or simply lacking the discernment to distinguish right from wrong. Fourth is bias due to fear. Out of fear of power, fear of retaliation, or fear of losing personal benefits, one may not dare to speak the truth and instead side with what is wrong. This appears as remaining silent when seeing wrongdoing, or flattering the powerful to protect oneself. Thus, there are 4 paths that lead the mind away from balance. Bias through desire, bias through hatred, bias through delusion, and bias through fear. Remember that compassion is not merely sentimental affection. True compassion arises from understanding that others are acting out of ignorance, meaning they do not see reality as it truly is, and therefore they cause suffering for themselves and for others. When you are able to see this clearly, you are already seeing the truth of suffering, impermanence, and non-self. In Buddhism, wisdom is precisely this kind of clear seeing and direct knowing. Compassion and wisdom go hand in hand. often referred to as the union of compassion and wisdom. This is one of the core teachings of the Buddha and has profound practical value. You can observe it directly in everyday life, even in your own relationships and in the environment where you live. Sometimes in close relationships, because we feel too attached, we forget that the other person is just like us, still imperfect, still subject to greed, anger, and delusion. Yet because of affection, we overlook these things. When difficulties eventually arise, those involved feel hurt and we begin to complain, wondering why, after treating someone so well, we end up receiving such painful results. Or consider parents who love their children so much that they end up tolerating or excusing their children's mistakes. In doing so, they may unintentionally allow those mistakes to grow worse. But on the other hand, if we become too cold, rigid, overly defensive, or suspicious, we ourselves lose our inner peace. The Buddhist answer is actually very simple. Walk the middle way. The middle way is the path between extremes. It means not clinging to someone with blind attachment, yet not judging others harshly either. It means not allowing greed, anger, delusion, or fear to cloud the true nature of people, situations, and events as they are unfolding. In the end, whether from the story of the snake, the story of the Venerable Moliyaphagguna, or the teachings found in the Majjhima Nikaya, one point becomes very clear. The human heart is not difficult to love, but it is very difficult to love while remaining clear and wise. The Buddha did not teach us to become cold-hearted people, nor did he teach us to become weak or submissive. He taught a path where compassion and wisdom go hand in hand. Compassion without wisdom easily turns into attachment. Wisdom without compassion easily becomes rigid and dry. Compassion makes us unwilling to cause harm to anyone. Wisdom prevents us from allowing ourselves to be blind. Compassion helps us understand that when others do wrong, it is because they are still caught in ignorance. Wisdom prevents us from siding with what is wrong simply out of personal affection. Compassion makes us gentle. Wisdom makes us steady. When these two walk together, we no longer live in extremes. We no longer have to choose between attacking and enduring. We no longer have to choose between caring for others and it protecting ourselves. We can do both without contradiction. That is the middle way. The middle way is not about standing in the middle merely to stay safe. It is about seeing clearly the true nature of things without letting greed, anger, delusion, or fear pull the mind off balance. When compassion and wisdom move together, we no longer act out of momentary emotion. We act out of understanding. We do not remain silent because of fear. We remain silent because we know when it is time to speak. We do not speak because of anger. We speak because it is necessary. And at some point, you will realize something. Stability does not come from making others fear you, nor does it come from trying to please everyone. It comes from not betraying the truth within your own mind. That is the kind of freedom the Buddha's teaching points toward. A freedom not based on power, not based on recognition, but grounded in clarity and a compassion that is no longer bound. Compassion and wisdom are like two sides of the same coin. Without one, the path tilts and becomes unbalanced. With both, the path becomes whole. Once you have understood compassion and wisdom in the Buddha's teaching, be a lamp unto yourself, rely on yourself, and do not rely on anything else. Let the Dhamma be your lamp. Let the Dhamma be your refuge. Do not rely on anything else. Light the torch and walk your path.